Come on. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Roger Paul, and tonight we are going to I don't know how we're going to go. I have too much to drink right now. No, I didn't. No, you can't walk across my keyboard. Sorry. Tonight we're going to continue our study on paper 39, and we're in section 4. Paragraph 5, but I'm going to talk about 4 just a little bit, but get us back up to speed where we were last week. And let's say a little prayer and we will get started. Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight that we might study your wonderful revelation. We pray that you'll open our hearts and minds, that we might remember and share this with others, and we might take this with us to the mansion world to prepare us for the way. We thank you for our blessings. We thank you for our friends, our family, and the many things that you bless us with every day. Please be with us now and bless each and every one of us. We say this in the name of your son, Michael, Jesus of Nazareth, and the creative Mother Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, last time we talked about justice guides. We're in section number 4, and under section number 4, we're talking about Administrator Seraphim. So these Seraphim are under the systems or planets. That's the level that they normally function in. Now they can go all the way down to the planets, but mostly they're in the system heads. And last time we were talking about the justice guides, and anything that comes up for adjudication in a system or a planet, these justice guides, these angels, make sure that we are provided justice and mercy in all situations for anything that has to be adjudicated in any way. So let's start on paragraph 4 or 5. Diane, would you like to start us?
Sure.
2. Justice guides. These are the angels who present the summary of evidence concerning the eternal welfare of men and angels when such matters come up for adjudication in the tribunals of a system or a planet. They prepare these statements for all preliminary hearings involving mortal survival, statements which are subsequently carried with the records of such cases to the higher tribunals of the universe and the superuniverse. The defense of all cases of doubtful survival is prepared by these seraphim, who have a perfect understanding of all the details of every feature of every count in the indictments drawn by the administrators of universe justice.
You guys are muted.
There we go.
Okay. So no, you
Okay,
really,
now read the next paragraph.
it's not a good way to start. Okay. It is not the mission of these angels to defeat or to delay justice, but rather to ensure that unerring justice is dealt out with generous mercy and fairness to all creatures. You were very fair to me, honey. Thank you.
Mhm.
These seraphim often function on the local worlds, commonly appearing before the referee trios of the conciliating commissions, the courts for minor misunderstandings. Many who at one time served as justice guides in the lower realms later appear as voices of mercy in the higher spheres and on Salvington.
Great job, Darren. You were doing such a good job, I couldn't interrupt you. So we got 2 paragraphs there, but it gives us a recap of what we talked about last time and the adjudication. So we know that the justice guides serve for really for the defense of angels and all beings that have to go before a conciliating commission. And remember, the conciliating commission are the traveling courts. It has 3 beings, right? And they go from system to system, planet to planet, universe to universe. And many of these justice guides actually work as in these conciliating commissions before they become justice guides. Okay, so that gives them experience. So when they do start to do this, they're already experienced and know just what to do. And later they appear as what's called the voices of mercy. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. All right, so let's go on to the next paragraph. And Rodney, would you take the next one for us, please?
Oh, yes. It's a sentence long, it looks like.
Yeah, it's a long sentence paragraph.
In the Lucifer Rebellion in Satania, very few of the justice guides were lost, but more than 1/4 of the other Administrator Seraphim and of the lower orders of seraphic ministers were misled and deluded by the
Sophistries.
sophistry
Yeah.
of unbridled personal liberty.
Okay, so it's interesting that few of the justice guides were misled and were fooled by Lucifer and his, declaration of liberty. Okay, probably because being justice guides, they're already familiar with the mercy of the universe at close hand and the conciliating commissions. But the lower orders underneath them, the Administrator Seraphim, also were misled by Satan and Lucifer and their rebellion against the universe. So it's good for them because they were not misled in the rebellion. It's hard for us to truly understand the terribleness of the Lucifer Rebellion. And we talk about wars on earth, but wars on earth are nothing like the wars in heaven. Because when someone rebels and you have a war in heaven, then when beings are misled and they die, it's permanent. There's no recovery. If you get killed in a war on this planet, you go on to the mansion worlds and you have an opportunity to go on through your ascension plan. But when you get caught up in something like the Lucifer Rebellion and you're adjudicated non-salvageable, you don't have any chance. Right, so it's about as bad as it could get. All right.
I wonder, Roger, what exactly that rebellion in terms of what was offered, self liberty, or just
unbridled personal liberty.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what Lucifer propagated was the fact that you could do anything you want at any time you want to anybody you want. And anybody with an ounce of love and respect for other beings would know that that could not be true. I mean, when you take away liberty from someone else, you take it away from yourself also. Because if you do something that's against someone else, you take part of their opportunity in their life and destroy that opportunity, but you not only help yourself, you help every other being in the universe when you do that, right? So it's about as bad as you could get.
But Michael is such a cool creator, son. I don't even understand why someone would not follow
position,
him. I mean,
I don't understand that. That's the hardest part about it, Rodney, to understand is why someone would not follow their own creator, the creator's son, and want to be part of his universe. It makes no sense whatsoever. What it boils down to is the me syndrome, right? Everybody but me is not important. Me is the most important thing, right? And that's what it boils down to. What you want is more important than what everyone else wants and what's best for the universe. So
is it kind of like saying self-love, but how these people say, oh, I love myself. Do you think that's wrong to say that, or?
No, it's not wrong to
Right.
love oneself, but
Right.
it is wrong to adore oneself.
Okay.
That's the difference. Really, when it comes to God the Father and the Creator's Son and God the Son, we're talking about adoration more than just love. And we're talking about a level of love that is million times larger than just a self-love. We're talking about a love of God the Father, all the creation, all that he's created, and every other being. That's why Jesus kept teaching the fatherhood of God and what?
Brotherhood of man.
The brotherhood of man. You can't have the fatherhood of God without the brotherhood of man. You cannot properly love God the Father or adore God the Father without loving every other creature that God the Father has created. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, and you'd be coveting other people's wealth and
Yeah,
happiness.
you become part of the family, and without the family, we are nothing, if you think about it. The hardest thing for us to understand that the highest institution on this planet, you know what that is?
The family.
unit.
The family. That's correct. That is the highest institution on this planet because it's the closest to our relationship with God and all other beings, right? Is a family. So if we understand the family, we understand the concept of God. Okay.
Hey, Roger,
right.
just
Yeah.
one more thing. What if people say something like, well, I'm going to do whatever I want unless it doesn't hurt somebody? I mean, that's still kind of,
it's still being ate up with oneself.
okay.
Yeah, what it
Thank you.
boils down to. It's selfishness. That's what it really boils down to. And that's what Lucifer was all about, is selfishness, if you think about it, right? Non-concern for anybody but self. All right. And we all know people in our lives that's been that way. I got a close relative that's like that. Okay, let's go on to number 3, interpreters of cosmic citizenship. Millie, would you take that one, please?
Yes, I can do this. Interpreters of cosmic citizenship. When ascending mortals have completed the mansion world training, the first student apprenticeship in the universe career, they are permitted to enjoy the transient satisfaction of relative maturity, citizenship on the system capital, while the attainment of each ascendant goal is a factual achievement. In the larger sense, such goals are simply milestones on the long ascending path to paradise. But however relative such success may be, no evolutionary creature is ever denied the full, thorough transient satisfaction of goal attainment. Ever and anon, there is a pause in the paradise ascent, a short breathing spell, during which universe horizons stand still. Creature status is stationary, and the personality tastes the sweetness of goal fulfillment.
So when we're on our way to the mansion world, it's not like it's a constant thing going to the mansion. I mean, I'm going on to paradise, is it? On each level, we have pauses of time so we can enjoy our attainment of each and every world, each and every universe, everything that we do over a period of time. They don't tell us how long that is, but I'm sure it's long enough to get to the point where you're ready to go on to the next thing. So this allows us to kind of take in what we've done, the goals we've achieved, and what we have to come, right? It really does. So that's what these interpreters of cosmic citizen do, actually help us to understand not only the goals that we've reached, but how we fit in with each and every step as we go through this process, right? And help us understand why we got there, how we got there, and what is important about where we're there, why we're there for, right? So it's a lot to comprehend and take in, right? All right, Jane, would you take the next one? The first such periods.
The first of such periods in the career of mortal ascender occurs on the capital of a local system. During this pause, you will, as a citizen of Jerusalem, attempt to express in creature life those things which you have acquired during the 8 preceding life experiences, embracing Urantia and the 7 mentioned worlds.
Okay, so you have the 7 mansion worlds, but you also have the experience of life itself, right? So we get the opportunity to express not only what we've learned, but the meaning of the life we've learned, right? You know, I always joke when we go out to eat and stuff, the waitresses always come to the table and they say, do you have any questions? And I always ask the same question. My wife knows me well. I always say, what's the meaning of life? And all the waitresses always go, I don't know.
Have you had one yet to answer you?
Not a single,
Wow.
not a single one.
I know, it's to take care of cats.
No, that's not the meaning of life either.
Part of our life, yeah.
I'm gonna let you in on the secret, Tim. You know what
Yes.
the meaning of life is?
What's that, Roger?
You got gnats in here. To do the will of God the Father.
Wonderful, thank you.
That's the
No, that's
meaning of life, right? That's what it all boils down to. And that's the meaning of life through every life as we go through the mansional worlds, right? To do God's wills, right? All right. Let's go on to the next, 3949. Gary, would you take that one?
The seraphic interpreters of cosmic citizenship guide the new citizens of the system capitals and quicken their appreciation of the responsibilities of universe government. These seraphim are also closely associated with the material sons in the system administration, while they portray the responsibility and morality of cosmic citizenship to the material mortals on the inhabited worlds.
So they teach us what our moral responsibility as cosmic citizens, don't they? Right? All right. Go on to the next one. Number 4, Quickeners of Morality. Lech, would you take that one for us, please?
Sure. Quickeners of Morality. On the mansion worlds, you begin to learn self-government for the benefit of all concerned. Your mind learns cooperation, learns how to plan with other and wiser beings. On the system headquarters, the seraphic teachers will further quicken your appreciation of cosmic morality, of the interactions of liberty and loyalty.
Now, don't you find it interesting that the Quickeners of Morality teach us about the interactions of liberty and loyalty, right? Somehow Lucifer missed this lesson, didn't he?
But he was
Because he was out for unbridled liberty instead of the morality of liberty and loyalty, right? So he misses this completely, and these quickeners of morality help us understand this, and they're going to go on about loyalty in the next paragraph. Tim, would you take that one?
What is loyalty? It is the fruit of an intelligent appreciation of universe brotherhood. One could not take so much and give nothing. As you ascend, oh, please leave it on. Yeah. As you ascend the personality scale, first you learn to be loyal, then to love, then to be final.
Filial.
Filial. What's that, love?
Yeah.
Okay. Filial. And then may you be free, but not until you are a finaliter, not until you have attained perfection of loyalty. Can you self-realize finality of liberty?
Okay. Only through loyalty can you learn to love one another, be filial, interact with each other, love each other, be part of their lives, to be free yourself. You know, liberty is not freedom, is it? Liberty is the ability to be loyal to one's friends, loved ones, God the Father, and all brothers in the universe, right? Okay, so it's a responsibility. And that's how we learn to attain the perfection of loyalty, where you realize the self-realization of finality of liberty. In other words, when you get to that point, and that's what these beings teach us, is what loyalty is in the first place and how you apply that loyalty with your interactions with all beings, including God the Father, right? Being loyal.
Hey, Roger,
All right. Yeah.
where they say self-realize, is that kind of like saying self-understanding, finality of liberty?
Yes, that's exactly what it means. A self-understanding of this concept of loyalty to all beings and all creatures. Right?
And the word finality is sort of like never ending, self-understanding, never ending
Once you-
of liberty.
Once you grasp this, Tim, it's not like our little pea brains where we lose things a day after we learn it, right? It stays with us indefinitely forever. That's why they call it finality,
Okay.
right? And that's why they say here, you will be free, but not until you are a finaliter. You see that? Will you have attained the perfection of loyalty? So you have to wait till you get all the way to paradise, become a finaliter, to understand the total perfection of loyalty and what that means, right? That's why we don't have any finaliters that ever rebel, right?
What do you think they mean by perfection? Complete?
Complete and a total attainment of the goal of loyalty, and you will never lose it. You will never go against that. You would never, ever rebel. Why would you never rebel when you become a finaliter? Why would you never rebel when you fuse with your adjuster? That's even earlier, right?
Oh, that's because I can answer that.
Tell me, Gary.
It's because when you fuse with your adjuster, you're fusing with God, and in rebelling, you would be rebelling against yourself.
But
That's
you made
exactly,
it. You've made an
exactly
oath.
right.
You've taken the finaliter oath too, as well.
Yes. Not only have you fused with God, when you take the finaliter oath, you become totally dedicated to God, nothing else. Nothing will ever become between you and yourself and God, right? Because when you fuse, you become part of God, and God becomes permanently part of you, right? All right. Let's go on. Diane.
These seraphim teach the fruitfulness of patience, that stagnation is certain death, but that over rapid growth is equally suicidal. That as a drop of water from a higher level falls to a lower, and flowing onward, passes over downward through a succession of short falls, so ever upward is progress in the Urantia and spirit worlds, and just as slowly and by such gradual stages.
I love this analogy. Just as one drop of water falls over waterfalls, keep going down and down and down and down. That's the way we get to paradise. Ready? One drop at a time, or one small step at a time, right? It's a long, long process. It takes patience. And that's how we learn the fruitfulness of patience.
And there's
right?
no room for ego.
Right. There's not.
When you say
right.
ego, what do you mean?
There's no room for self-importance.
Okay, thank you.
That becomes a past in your life, a past part of your life. Self-importance does not propagate growth, right? When you become self-important, what happens? You replace the will of God and the will of other people to improve your life with your own will, right?
The reason why I asked that is because I've been watching a lot of Hindu stuff, and they're always talking about the ego, and they're always saying, well, if I'm angry, it's really not me. I didn't do that. And then I believe sometimes they may use it in reference to the personality, which is totally untrue.
That's
You know,
true.
they're
That's
they're
right.
denying the personality, which is it's
Yeah,
totally false.
You have to identify something before you can improve it, right?
Yeah.
And you have to identify something before you can get rid of it. Just like, well, let me give you an example. Alcoholism, right? It's a disease. And once you've started that, you have to retrain your mind and the way you think about alcohol, right? And how it's used, right? So just like you have to replace that with other thoughts and more fruitful ways of doing things, it's the same thing with bad things in your life. You have to replace them with good things, right? And then when you replace them with those good things, you grow. That's what it's all about. It's about growth, right? All right. All right, let's keep going. Rodney, would you take the next one?
Yes. To the inhabited worlds, the Quickeners of Morality portray mortal life as an unbroken chain of many links. Your short sojourn on Urantia, on this sphere of mortal infancy, is only a single link, the very first in a long chain that is to stretch across universes and through the eternal ages. It is not so much what you learn in this first life, it is the experience of living this life that is important. Even the work of this world, paramount though it is not nearly so important as the way in which you do this work. There is no material reward for righteous living, but there is profound satisfaction, consciousness of achievement, and this transcends any conceivable material reward.
Reminds me of a quote from this book. Life is but a day's work, do it well, right? Every single day. It's your responsibility to do your work and do it as well as you possibly can, right?
Of course.
Think about this. If everything is a link in like a long chain, the single link is the smallest link in this life, isn't it? It's the shortest of all the lives we have to come. So if you think about it, the first link is like a little bitty thing, right? And the rest of the links are pretty good size. So you want to do as well as you can on the little bitty links so that when you go on to the bigger links, you're prepared to do more, right?
Yeah, it's interesting that they said we take a short breathing spell, and they keep saying life is so short here. Wonder how that compares.
You know, it's kind of funny that you bring that up, Rodney, because if you think about it, when you get to the mansion worlds, what's the first thing you do when you wake up? They give you 10 days to get your bearings, okay? Now, an interesting part of that is this. They don't say if it's Earth days. They don't say if it's mansion world days. So if it's mansion world days, that would be 18 times 3, right?
Oh.
So that's a pretty long time you get to get your bearings. Now, in that 10-day period, if you're not suited, in other words, if you're past the first mansion world, if you already learned all your lessons you need for the first mansion worlds, they graduate you to the next mansion world, okay? And then you have 10 more days to get your bearings, right? And then if you're not right for that mansion world, they graduate you to the next mansion world, right? And that you go through this process all over again. And you don't stop until you get to the mansion world where you are psychologically akin to that mansion world to learn your lessons. Now, if you've already learned the lessons of the first and the second mansion world and you end up on the third, that's okay, because what do you have to do? You still have to go back to the first two to teach, don't you? So you still get those 2 mansion world experiences, but your residence would be on the 3rd mansion world. Okay, so it's interesting that you mentioned you have this break in between, because the breaks in between lets you get your bearings in your new surroundings, the people you've known before. Some of them will be on the first mansion world, some of them may be on the second, some on the third, fourth, fifth, or sixth. You know, that's the way it works. But even when you wake up from this first short life, they still give you a break period to understand your new body, your new surroundings, and how you fit into these surroundings and bodies, right? So nobody pushes you along, basically. And then, like I said, we don't know if it's 10 days of our time or 10 days of the mansion world time, which is different, right?
So basically, Roger, it's going to be like avatars.
Oh, Avatar.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Millie, did you have a question? Yeah.
No, I was just going to remind you that way back in the paragraph that I was reading before, no creature is ever denied the full, though transient, satisfaction of gold attainment. Ever and anon, there's a pause, and then you stop and say, "Yes, I did this." You know, before they don't just shove you into the next room. You know, you get a break,
right.
so that you can enjoy what you've achieved.
You can enjoy what you've done. That's right. Yeah,
That's true.
The other thing is interesting too, Millie, is you get to revel in that success with your friends and relatives too, right? You know, they're going to be there.
No, when I get there, I'll come back and tell you.
Yeah.
Send a big letter to them. Send us a letter, Millie.
Let's go. Oh, I did want to mention one other thing in this paragraph, and that is this sentence. There is no material reward for righteous living. You see that?
Yes.
So what you have on this world has nothing to do with whether you live a righteous life or not. If you're rich, you just happen to be one of the fortunate ones that are rich. If you're poor, you happen to be one of the fortunate ones that are poor, because you will learn better lessons being poor than rich. If everything's given to you, you won't have to struggle. If you struggle and you're poor, you will have to struggle. So you're really one up on the rich ones. And it's hard to understand that.
Oh, hey, Roger.
Yeah.
What Millie was saying, is she talking about enjoying our achievements? From what? From like on the mansion worlds or in life?
In life.
Okay.
From the very first one on. You've achieved certain goals on your life you don't even know you've achieved yet. Okay. Wow. And when you get to that first mansion world, you will realize, because of these beings are teaching you all the goals that you've reached in this life. Every day we have a purpose. That's why I just said, life is but a day's work. Do it well, right? If you do your daily work well, you will prepare yourself for the lessons learned. Make sense?
Yes.
It really did. You know, I always come back to Jesus. Look at what Jesus did 30 some years. He was a carpenter, he was a boat builder, right? Every day he got out and did something, didn't he? He did every day, he did his work, and he did it well. When he started his mission, what did he do? He did that every day, and he did that well every day, right? So no matter what you're doing, do it to the best of your ability, and you will learn your lessons from that.
And you know what? He also had 10 mouths to feed plus his own, because Joseph had passed away in an accident. Yeah, that's right. A really responsible individual there, hardworking.
Right. Millie, would you take the next paragraph, please?
Yes. This one I have highlighted, so listen up. The keys to the kingdom of heaven are sincerity, more sincerity, and still more sincerity. All men have these keys. Men use them, advance in spirit status by decisions, by more decisions, and by even more decisions. The highest moral choice is the choice of the highest possible value, and always in any sphere and in all of them, this is to choose to do the will of God. If man thus chooses, he is great, though he be the humblest citizen of Jerusalem, or even the least of the mortals on Urantia.
Okay, I taught you 2 lessons this period of hour. First one's what? To do the will of God, right? It's right there in that paragraph, right? The purpose of life, to do the will of God, right? The second thing I taught you tonight is life is but a day's work, do it well. That's what they're talking about. Sincerity, sincerity, and more sincerity, and decisions, decisions, and more decisions. If you don't get out and do the work, you can't make what?
Progress.
Decisions.
Decision.
Progress. Decisions. You can't be sincere about what you're doing, right? Regardless of what you're doing. And if you're not doing those 2 things, do you think you can choose to do the will of God? Be pretty hard, wouldn't it? Because God has a purpose for us all, right? Any way you look at it, see the big circle, right? Okay, life is but a day's work.
I have a
All right.
question.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah, let's.
You know, we're all born with certain abilities, skills, talents, maybe genius or prodigy. How do you deal with that when dealing with the ego? Because following up on those talents and becoming good at them, in effect, it involves some amount of ego. You know,
Does. Yeah, you're right.
I would say
Yeah.
humility.
Well, it takes humility too, but the higher you get on the scale, what Let's just talking about is the higher you get on the scale, the more intelligent you become, and the more skilled you become at anything. It's easier to get what I call the big head syndrome, isn't it? Because you get very good at what you do. The tricky part is setting self aside and realize the reason you become so good at these skills is why? Because of your sincerity and doing the will of God in your life. When you stop doing the will of God, it becomes all about whom?
Yeah.
Yourself, right? That's how you get the big head. Right? You're doing it all for you and nobody else. The point is this: all human beings, all creatures of the universe have certain skills that they can develop. Almost anybody can develop skills to do anything if they apply themselves properly. I'm a perfect example of that. I can tell you. I wasn't born with the ability to become a doctor. I wasn't born with the ability to teach the Urantia Book. None of this stuff comes easy. It takes work, right? If I'd have got the big head syndrome when I was younger, I would say, it's all about me, you know, send me money, you know, make me rich, you know, that sort of thing. I'd be teaching on TV right now, you know.
Oh, you are.
Oh, I am teaching on TV. Maybe I should shut up. But the point is this: unless you become humble yourself and realize that the skills you have and the talents you have is nothing without God. It's all from God. None of it comes from us, right? The reason we're able to do things is because God has blessed us with certain abilities, right? And if we apply those abilities, we can provide our brothers and sisters tons and tons of benefits, right?
So, hey, Roger.
But you've got to be willing to do that. Yeah.
If you have a good skill and you're very good at your job, it's very important to not be self-important, to leave yourself out of it.
Yes.
And your attitude should be, I want to glorify God. I want to do this because he's given me this skill, but I want to leave myself out of it.
Yes.
The mental state, what should I be thinking mentally so I don't get a
Well,
big head?
Well, number one, you can't get the idea that it's all about me, right? Just because you have a skill and you can do it well doesn't make you that special. Many beings have that same skill and they go out, do it just as well as you do. There's always someone that's smarter than you. I don't care how smart you get.
That's correct.
There's always someone smarter than you. right? And there always will be. The tricky part is to impart that knowledge or to impart that skill to anyone and everyone around you,
So
right?
teaching it?
Teaching it, showing other people. If you're doing a job and you do a job well, you know how to do it better than someone, teach your coworkers how to do it as well as you do, right?
Great. Yeah.
And people will tell you that, you know, these people that say, oh, it's all about yourself, you know, you got to make yourself great. I don't care how good they get. They may look better than you, but you have become a better child of the Father by teaching someone how to do something better than you do it.
So it's not
Okay.
just being selfish by bossing people around as a leader.
No,
It's being
no.
able to show people and also trust them.
Trust them and trust God
Right.
that He will glorify whatever you're teaching anyone around you how to do. He will glorify that in His name, not yours.
Because this reminds me of a program that I saw where this manager on a boat, she would constantly just be bossing these people around and she didn't even trust them. Like if she said, you know, I want you to go juice something for a client, she couldn't even allow the person to do it on their own because she had no trust at all in their ability.
Yeah, that's a personal inability to trust themselves, right? She's relaying that inability to trust herself into other people. She's inserting that into other people, and they will never be at their full potential until she does, right? It's kind of like look at it this way. If you're a mother bird, right, and you have chicks, if that mother bird held on to her chicks and didn't push them out of the nest and make them fly, they would always be dependent on that mother bird, would they not?
Yes.
The same principle. You gotta push your coworkers out of the nest so that they can develop their own wings and fly in themselves on their own, right?
So a lot of it
Right.
too, if you have a good skill, is to just help people you know, progress and teach them to be better.
Yes,
Okay.
it's what's the keys of heaven?
Sincerity.
Kingdom of heaven. Sincerity.
What does that word
sincerity,
mean? Sincerity.
More sincerity.
What's the word mean? Sincerity.
It means being honest with oneself about your goals, right? Why are you doing? Are you sincere in everything you do, everything you share, everything you teach? Are you sincere in what you believe to the point where you can give it away? If you can't give it away, it's not worth having. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. We're coming back to the transporters again. You know, each one of these sections has their own transporters, right? So let's go on to the next one. Jane, I believe you're up next. They rearranged my pictures, but I'm pretty sure you're up next.
Okay. The transporters. These are the transport seraphim who function in the local systems. In Satania, your system, they carry passengers back and forth from Jerusalem and otherwise serve as interplanetary transporters. Seldom does a day pass in which a transport seraphim of Satania does not deposit some student visitor or some other traveler of spirit or semi-spirit nature on the shores of Urantia. These very space traversers will sometimes carry you to and from the various worlds of the system headquarters group. And when you have finished the Jerusalem assignment, they will carry you forward to Urantia. But under no circumstances will they carry you backward to the world of human origin. A mortal never returns to his native planet during the dispensation of his temporal existence. And if he should return during a subsequent dispensation, he would be escorted by a transport seraphim of the universe headquarters group.
Okay, so you think your grandfather's going to come back and talk to you? No,
No.
right? You think Elijah is going to come back and talk to you? You think Melchizedek's going to come back and talk to you? You think that Jesus will come back and talk to you unless he's coming back to see the entire world? Not likely, right? Why is this important? Because whole religions have been built on misinterpretations of what individuals think they have seen. People have sworn up and down they saw God the Father. They've sworn up and down that God the Father and Jesus has appeared before them. I know this for a fact because I've been in religions that believe this. They think that Elijah's come back and talked to him. They think that Melchizedek's come back and talked to him. They think Abraham's come back and talked to him. You think that's plausible?
What
Not
is that
likely.
called? Vision, dreams? I mean, like in terms of logical
You could
sort of
call it,
science.
you could call it a vision or a
Okay.
dream or a self-induced hallucination, right?
An altered state of consciousness.
Altered state of consciousness. People are constantly swearing that their relatives come back and stand at the foot of their bed, don't they? How many times have you heard that? Right? I woke up and saw my mother at the foot of the bed. She talked to me, right? According to this, is that allowed? No, it's not. Why would it not be allowed? Think about this for a second. If that was allowed, there would be no exercise of what? Faith, right? And what's Jesus say? Jesus says it's faith, by faith ye are saved. Is this not true? Right? If you get rid of the faith function, you have no exercise of faith, and it steals your opportunity, very few opportunities in this life, to exercise that faith and believe in your own salvation, believe in Jesus as your God, believe in the salvation that you will awaken on the mansion world. If somebody comes down that's been here before and comes back to you and says, I can't wait till you get to the mansion worlds, it's great. You think that benefits you? No, it steals your faith, right? And it's a hard pill to swallow because everyone wants to see their dead relative. Let me give you an example of that. Houdini.
This truly aligns with my...
Yeah. Houdini spent all his life trying to talk to his dead mother, right? He had a good friend that was also a magician called Thurston. Why is this important? Because Thurston went around with William Sadler and Houdini disproving medium. Okay, that's why this is important. And this was the time of the revelation of what?
Yep, the Urantia Book.
The Urantia Book. Okay.
Even the sleeping subject.
The sleeping subject, that's right. So these men went around and they never found a real honest to God medium that could talk to the dead. Never. Okay, and they did it for years and years. Okay. Houdini was a master at it because he knew every trick in the book for magicians, right? So they couldn't fool him. But he honestly tried to talk to his dead mother until he died himself. Okay. So no mortal is allowed to return to earth. So if someone tells you that they have a religion based on something that they saw a vision, Jesus came back and talked to him and told him all religions was false, do you think you should believe that religion?
What if it's a near-death experience? Because even in that experience, some people see a hell, and there's been more than one person who has
They tell you that right before death, many people see their guardian seraphim. And the guardian seraphim they see is the concept of a seraphim in their minds. So if you believe a seraphim has wings, like a bird, you will see a seraphim that has wings like a bird, right? If you believe that a seraphim has friction shields, this is what you'll see. You see it?
You know why?
That's a seraphim with a transport seraphim with a sleeping mortal inside, and this is a seraphim with the friction shields open. Okay, it's just a representation.
You know, they actually say after death too, it takes at least 1 hour for you to be totally, all the brain function. So I'm thinking maybe in that 60 minutes, some crazy stuff could be happening. The adjuster is getting ready to take leave.
You can imagine a lot of different things,
Right.
probably.
Correct. But I like what
Yeah.
you said, Roger. I like that a lot, because I'm trying to figure out, people say, oh, and you just answered my question. Are these near-death experiences true, or just, I wouldn't say hallucination, because a lot of doctors say, well, it's not a lack of oxygen in the brain, but something is happening. And apparently there was one case where this woman had one, but they just recently discovered that for some odd reason, she was pronounced dead, but her heart, something was still beating. So
Yeah.
that would explain a lot. And it's
I'll
one of the
tell you
most,
what.
it's one of the most profound, Betty Eadie, Braced by the
Yeah.
Light. Right.
Yeah,
But-
I'm familiar with that. But
Right.
the point I'm making here is this, that many times we believe we see certain things that aren't exactly true. You know?
I agree. Mhm.
And when you have people that start new religions and things like that because they've seen Jesus, they say they've seen God, say they've seen this and that and the other. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I just don't.
But what
Gary.
If that what you're saying is don't come back. Paul got his conversion, I see, in Jesus.
Right.
What's that say about Paul?
Do we know it was Jesus for sure? We don't know. All we have is Paul's. All we have is Paul relating the story, right? He could have had a hallucination. Dozens of things could be it. Let me put it this way. They say Paul was a great man in the Urantia Book, right? He did more to advance the Christian religion than any other person outside of Peter. The trouble is, Peter wasn't strong enough to stick to what Jesus taught him. And so what we have in the New Testament is the New Testament and the story of Jesus according to Paul. That's what we have in the New Testament. Okay. And if you study the Bible like I have in the past, you know that the New Testament is mostly about Paul and what Paul thought. Well, Paul was wrong on several very important things. Paul was wrong on women, the way women are supposed to be treated. Paul was wrong about the sacrificial system. It says right straight in the beginning of the Urantia Book, no, God requires no sacrifice for your sins. If you had to sacrifice for your sins, what would be the purpose of mercy? It would be useless. Okay? You can't have mercy if you have to kill some other being or animal to gain that mercy. Okay? That was Paul's teaching. All right. The reason he taught that is because it was ingrained in the Jewish religion during that period of time. All the way up to Jesus, they were still lots of people on this planet were still sacrificing human beings for sin. Right? Any logical person would think, does God require you to kill someone else because I did something wrong? Does that make any sense at all? No. But that's what the New Testament teaches. And I can tell you, it teaches that. I've studied it in college. I studied it on my own until the Urantia Book came along. I was convinced that was the case. And I was wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong. Okay? That's just the way it is. Now, the reason this stuff we just studied is so important is this. Paul related a story that he went blind, right? On the road to Damascus. Remember the story?
Mhm.
On the road to Damascus, he went blind. Okay? He had an encounter with Jesus. After the encounter with Jesus, what happened? He got his sight back miraculously. Now, whether Paul actually went blind, I have no idea. I don't know. But did he see Jesus after Jesus left? And it says in the book, on his final appearance, he left the planet. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. You believe one thing or you to believe something else. If I have to believe something, I'm going to believe the book, not Paul. I'm sorry. It's the way I feel about it.
You know, actually, it was an individual who came to him who, in a dream, was told to go to Paul, and that's when the man restored his sight.
Right. But he went blind on the way to Damascus. He got his sight restored, and that's where it all started. Right. That's where Paul converted.
I believe
Okay.
also that they say that during his travel on Damascus, in actuality, it was an earthquake, and then he fell off his horse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So did he hit his head?
I don't know.
Probably. You know, I mean, that would make sense, right?
All of the horse.
Yeah.
I have a
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Rodney.
the last sentence here, the transport seraphim of the universe headquarters group. Would that be the supreme seraphim?
No. This is the transport seraphim of
The local
administrator seraphim.
administrative.
Right. Yeah, that's the transport seraphim, right? And notice here it says, if a mortal should ever return to his planet, even after the 1,000 years, he has to have what with him? An escort. Right? Why would he have to have an escort? What do y'all think?
Keep him straight.
Can't remember.
Keep him straight. Keep him from revealing something to some person or being that's not allowed to, he's not allowed to do that. Why is this again? We just talked about this. Faith, right? You destroy that person's opportunity to exercise faith. Now here's a picture of the transport administrator seraphim taking angels and mortals back and forth to the planets. Okay. All right, now I'm running out of time. We're not even going to get through the recorders and reserves. Okay, we'll get through this next time. Because the next one, the planetary helpers, let's see, we go down here in the section on the planetary helpers, we're going to have a discussion about the transport seraphim and what actually happens when they transport a person